Hey guys, how you doing? When I started doing security work, I was like 18. So that would be 18, 19, 18. So like 1988, 89. And I was predominantly a striker then with a bit of judo experience. And most of the guys that I worked with were strikers as well. They did kung fu and karate and they were boxers and things like that. And then when I started doing Jiu Jitsu in 97, at a different nightclub. I was down in Christchurch then, and traditionally we had ice buckets behind reception that we would have our hands. They're full of ice and they had nappy sand, and so we wore like white kind of business shirts and bow ties and stuff like that at work. So our white shirts would always get covered in blood and stuff like that. So we'd have to throw them in the nappy sand, and then you'd have smashed up hands. So you'd take turns sitting there at reception with your hands in the ice water, kind of icing your knuckles. And that went on for years. And then I started doing jiu-jitsu in 97. I started working at Palladium probably 93, I think, probably 93. So I spent a good, decent amount of time punching and kicking people. And then when I started doing jiu-jitsu, everything changed. Yeah, so I wasn't having to sit behind reception with my hands in ice buckets anymore. If ever we went to court, there was no pictures of bloodied opponents and stuff like that. So things changed very dramatically, and the boss liked it because then the rest of the staff took a bit of an interest in jiu-jitsu, and we all kind of started doing a bit. And it changes the staff dynamic a lot too, because like I was explaining to somebody yesterday about when you're a striker, anybody that kind of comes inside arm's distance is a big threat to you, because like now you're like in the pocket, right? That's the kind of ideal place to hit people. And so you're very aware of that, and your anxiety and stuff like that feeds into your client, right? Or the customer, right? I don't like calling them like your adversary or opponent, but like, because they're a client of the nightclub, they're a customer there. And so you want to try and diffuse the situation and deal with it as best you can without getting into a fight. And when it's really loud music, you have to kind of get close to be able to talk to people. And that makes them very uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable and you're fearful because that's the distance that you fight at, and anything inside that is a massive threat, then you tend to overreact, yeah? And you're hypersensitive to what's going on. And when I started doing jiu-jitsu and then my personal space changed, the whole way that I saw in the pocket, like inside arm's distance, the closer I got, the more comfortable I felt. And so I didn't have this massive anxiety anymore. And I knew best how to approach people, like not front on, kind of on the side. I would touch their elbow so that I could feel intentions through their body, through their elbow. And it's not threatening, like reaching your hand up near the shoulder or head, because the person, there's a couple of security guards come over, like they get their back up a little bit too. And so through doing jiu-jitsu and having a better understanding of what's possible in that space, and then the closer you get, the more comfortable you get. The more comfortable you get, the less anxious you are. The less anxious you are, the more relaxed and compliant the patron is. And you can have a discussion, a better discussion about, like you don't have to maybe throw them out, but you want to be able to like ask them to curb their behavior or something like that. Yeah. And so the more relaxed that you can do that, and the more relaxed the patron is, the better the result of the whole interaction, whether they have to leave or not. Yeah, like that sets the precedent for the rest of the relationship, maybe for the rest of the evening. It sets the relationship between you and all of their friends, because if you ask one of the friends to leave, then, like if the others don't leave and then they've kind of got a thing against you, and if there's further problems, then you see where I'm going with this. So I think that every security guard, every police officer, anybody that's in that kind of a role really needs to be doing jiu-jitsu. And I mean, we see this all the time, predominantly in America, but over, in Australia and stuff too, where there's altercations between, police or security guards or whoever it happens to be and the public. The less well trained you are, then the more you tend to overreact, because you don't have, if you're not regularly wrestling people, yeah, then you're not in a very good position to be able to judge how much of a threat they are. Yeah. So I think the police should be, like minimum blue belts in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So that they don't have to reach for the taser or reach for their gun or reach for their baton or whatever it happens to be. I think that, there's a lot to be said about doing jiu-jitsu and being comfortable in a close space and being able to better communicate with people in that space. So it had a profound effect on me as a security guard. It had a profound effect on my staff, who then started taking an interest in jiu-jitsu. And as a result, it had a profound effect on the whole vibe of the nightclub, because, it didn't have the best name and reputation and stuff like that. And, it was constantly mentioned in the paper. So we certainly didn't enjoy that. And when I eventually moved to Australia and started doing security work here, then, things changed again, because, again, a lot of the guys were kickboxers and stuff like that. And if you're a hammer, then you see everything as a nail. That's the only way you can deal with things, is to hit the person. And you can't really hit people gently, like you have to hit people really hard if you're going to hit them. And when you hit them, you can't control how they're going to fall, where they're going to fall. You can't even control how hard you're going to hit them. Because when you go to hit them, if they move towards you, it increases the power of the strike. Yeah, so in a court of law, they really frown upon like hitting and stuff like that. So having some other tools in your toolbox other than that, especially if you're a security guard or similar, can only help you. Anyway, little video. Any questions, hit me up. Happy to help.